Hey everybody, it's Webbs and Lanissum here for Team Quantitative Easing. It's been a little while since we actually started doing one of these Shoutcasts, and then Lanissum goes, hey, you know, we should probably do those again, considering people actually subscribe to us on YouTube, and I'd like to give a shout out to our two opponents here, Von Flipmode and Blackadder, who apparently have seen our videos on YouTube, so thanks to you guys, much appreciated for the support there.
It makes it all worth it.
It does make it all worth it, even if it's just one person. Anyway, so this round is actually one of my first rounds back in quite some time. Actually, we haven't played really at all. We did have some replays saved up that we were going to Shoutcast, and then Lanissum goes, oh yeah, that patch actually corrupted them all, so
yeah,
go figure. Or I guess we're not doing that anymore. Anyway, Lanissum, would you care to tell us what strategies we are going to be going today?
Well, I went with an infantry-heavy build, so I'll be taking the woods near Charlie and Delta right off the bat. Webbs went for more of a tank build, so he's going to be fighting over in Bravo and Echo, which are more aligned with tank combat.
I'd like to point out that we are PACT, and I was sitting here like an idiot focusing on NATO, so you'll have to forgive me while I rotate the camera here.
Yes, our opponents, they seem to put most of their forces on Webbs' side, so we'll see a lot of combat over there. And an early rush, too. Of a sort, anyway.
So as you can see, our opponent here is going a lot of some Saracens here, and not much else. You're going to see them deploy a little bit of Delta Force over here in the buildings over by Bravo, which is going to kill at least one of my recon units as it comes in. But we quickly deal with that because getting your call-in camped is not fun at all.
Yeah. Well, if we look at new to spawn, I can see 4 command trucks already, so right off the bat, they're going to be going on with a defensive stance here.
A defensive stance, very point-heavy rush, trying to get as many of these command points as possible in order to be able to call in additional reinforcements later in the match. So they're not going to be doing too much very heavy advancing, possibly capping Golf, Foxtrot, Delta, Echo, and then pretty much staying in position.
Yeah, that's the theory anyway. We'll see how it holds up.
So as you can see with my units here, I'm set to deploy 4 T-72Bs, which are actually very good tanks, although quite expensive, 120 per unit, along with 8 BMP-685s and 4 Strop 2s. Strop 2s, amazing AA units on the PACT side. These Iglas, if you take a look at the statistics for the Strop 2s, look at that twin autocannon, 7 accuracy, 1 HE power, firing 153 per minute, putting out a lot of lead that's very accurate, gonna actually land on target if they get in close. Plus 2451 meter SAMs that have 9 accuracy, 5 HE. So get hit by those missiles, you're going down. Plus, the big advantage of the Strop 2s, look at that speed, 100 kilometers per hour. Crazy fast anti-aircraft that can move toward those helicopters.
Yeah,
slower than the helicopters can move, but definitely still able to keep up there, as you can see.
AA that can chase down choppers. Wouldn't that be something?
That's kind of scary there. As you can see, they've deployed some more of their units here. AMX-30Bs here, M106A1 mortar carriers over here, which are going to harass us pretty much the whole game until we actually start artying them back because they were getting too annoying.
Yeah. Let's see how many command troops they have. They still have 4, I would say. Okay, well, that seems what they're going to be doing over there. If you'll note, Webbs seems to have a small number of units, high quality though, and I know they have been going on for a large number of cheap units. Mostly a bunch of infantry and then some BMP-2s. And then a few flamer tanks because I'll be fighting the woods a lot.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this battle underway. You notice that I managed to delete one of my groups of 685s. I decided to keep those points in reserve so I could call on more units over here at Bravo when I got there. I decided to do a really quick rush for Bravo here. Get encamped at Bravo, set up some defensive positions in the woods between Echo right here, as you can see, very line of sight blocking in these trees, which is great for armor, especially if you have recon units, which, oh, wait, where's my recon? Oh, it's not there.
Yeah, we both, Webbs forgot to get recon, and I forgot to get significant AA, so I stopped my command truck right here to correct that mistake.
But I did make up for it with these 3 Malika artillery pieces here, which, you know, are going to provide a little bit of support fire, not too much, but enough to harass them and move them out of position.
Yeah, I really didn't think very much of the Malkas, but they seem to be very good, especially with their accuracy. I mean, just looking at them, they only had 16 rounds and fired 3 a minute. which I thought was just, you know, worthless. But the accuracy really does, it's really important.
The accuracy and the range, which can basically shoot across the map from your spawn
easily,
and actually manage to hit targets, is very effective. And at only 80 cost per unit is actually not too bad for this quality of a unit.
Yeah, it's very good. Okay, so you see we're advancing to our positions. NATO is definitely going for Foxtrot very hard, and I am taking Charlie in the woods in front of it. In fact, I'm sending Scots with very cheap infantry straight into the woods of Delta and Gulf, hoping to get off some easy kills and keep them off of it too.
So it looks like Von Flipmode is the one who is primarily going for Foxtrot here, going very heavy Foxtrot, lots of units, lots and lots of units. And his teammate Blackadder is the one who's deploying this Delta Force over here by Bravo, which are going to be extremely annoying at the very beginning, as you're about to see. I'm going to keep an eye on this really quickly from their perspective.
A very good play on their part there.
Yes. Something that we need to do in the future is put some infantry over by the call-in when they come in. This is easier for NATO to do because, as you can see, there's building and this tree line here by Bravo. Which,
perfect cover.
Yeah, as you can see, they just spotted this armored recon that got called in. Their Delta Force are in a perfect position to start shooting at it. They're not going to kill this one. They're going to completely miss it. But the second one that comes in, not going to stand a chance.
Yeah, I have to say that's really just bad luck that they got the recon as opposed to something that's actually supposed to get killed.
Indeed, and actually because they did that, we knew they were there, and they're about to get lit up by those Malkas that were back here in Alpha.
Yeah, and I called on a Flampanzer real quick to get some, but that didn't quite work out so hot. If you look over in Gulf, my infantry have managed to enter into the woods, although they did take some fire, but surprisingly none of them got killed. And so successfully deployed into Delta and Gulf. We'll see how that keeps them off.
Once again, proving how incredibly useful Scots are. You can see there's 40 Panzer Grenadiers over here in these woods.
And meanwhile, the enemy is dealing with those guys. I'm able to set up defenses in the woods before Charlie with little to no interference.
Now, as you can see, these T-72Bs are going to be deploying in this forest over here. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of tank micro in this round because I only have a very small number of tanks, but these are all very high quality tanks. BMP 685s, as any PACT player knows, very, very good cavalry tanks. These Delta Force, yeah, they're getting the ever-living daylights out of artillery out of them. These Malkas, very high HE power, so these buildings not going to be too much cover for them. They're pretty much done right now, 6 units, and they're about to get smoked at this next barrage. Yep, there they go. They're gone.
Yeah, over in the woods, I'm fighting out with some infantry fighting vehicles, and I'm inflicting some decent damage, it would seem. Definitely making a good trade here at 5 costs per squad here versus whatever it is. It looks like 60 points for each one of those Martyr 1A1s. So definitely a good trade. However, his infantry will annihilate mine, and so I'll retreat those Scots.
Now, I would like to point out that he is getting artilleried over here in Delta. He has lost some units there, actually quite a few.
They killed about 2 of my squads there, but I figured I'd play a game of fish in the barrel with them and move my guys into the building next to the woods. Hopefully they won't think to shoot there.
Now, if we take a look at what I can see on the map, I can't see very much right now, but I do have my units very carefully defensively positioned here. I've got some BMPs a little bit farther back in case they try and move down the road. I'm moving these Strop 2s up to try and kill their recon helicopter. It's not quite going to get there, but it's going to force him to move back and lose line of sight of my T-72Bs and these 685s, which is going to allow me to push forward a little bit, which, as you can see here, they've got these AMX-30Bs positioned in the woods toward Foxtrot, and they're going to get absolutely decimated a little bit later on.
I should note that the main issue with just having Strop 2s for AA is that their range isn't quite enough to really give you an umbrella of protection, especially against Apaches, which can basically duke it out with them with their missiles. For this reason, I like to have Strop 2s and Bucks. And the Buck, if you look over in Charlie, I've got 2 of them. They can fire out to about 4,200 meters at almost 10 accuracy, so it's basically an air sniper. And you interweave that, you can basically force the enemy into your A or keep them at bay, pretty much. And it's very useful against their aircraft, obviously.
Now, this was kind of a failure on my part. I moved my Strop 2s up toward their AMX-30Bs because I didn't really see that they were there. So they do manage to kill one of those, but the rest of them are going to get away. But because I noticed they were there, as you can see, I'm moving my BMP 685s up to engage these AMX-30Bs. they're going to get lit up.
There too.
Right, they're going to get lit up pretty heavily. And as we all know, those AMX-30Bs really don't have any kind of side armor, so they're going to get damaged very heavily and be forced to retreat. BMP-685 is going to take practically no damage at all.
Yep, and I think the enemy's going to react with his other AMXs, or maybe you can just see them by now.
And they are. Yes, I can see them. I'm moving my T-72Bs up. These T-72Bs, we take a look at their stats here, 8 accuracy ATGMs, 11 AP power. Man, these AMX-30Bs really don't stand a chance against those ATGMs, and as you can see right here very soon, they're going to get smoked.
Yeah, definitely they're outclassed, those AMX-30Bs. Although they're pretty cheap. I mean, those T-72s, they each cost, what, 150?
Yeah, they're 150 for the Vet 1, yes.
I'm surprised you didn't just get T-80Us for that price. Right, so you can see the 72s are cleaning house very easily.
I did, however, spot that group of Fusiliers back there, so now I'm immediately going to move Artie to start firing on that. And they've got this AH-1E Cobra over here that's starting to fire at us. So I'm moving my Strop 2s up to try and deal with that. This AMX-30B, though, only 1 bar of health left. It's pretty much out of the fight. So they have these 2 AMX-30Bs, which they're going to do some pretty effective fighting with a little bit later.
I should note that right about now, Buck would be very useful to keep that Cobra out of range.
Absolutely, and we should have done that. Their mortars are basically firing blind at me.
Yeah, we didn't actually know that those were mortars. We thought they were regular artillery for most of the match. If we had known they were just mortars, I think we probably wouldn't have paid much attention to it as we did.
Right, because you're about to see here, I'm about to start moving my units around pretty hectically, trying to stay away from the mortars.
Yeah, the alleged artillery of death.
Yes, right. Now, of course, right when I brag on the T-72's ATGMs, of course, they start failing miserably. So, now I do see these Saracens moving up over here through these woods. I saw them not too long ago. I forgot who spotted them. But I can see them, so I immediately begin moving my T-72s in to be able to prevent any kind of flanking maneuver they might be trying to pull.
I should note that I have brought on 4 Malcos of my own at this point, and I have line of sight on the command truck in Gulf because of my Scots. I just figured I'd see what I could, and surprisingly they actually have decent optics for that. But it would seem that he just forgot to put the command truck in the woods, which is probably why I saw him in the first place. And we're about to see some exceedingly accurate artillery fire.
Once again, Malka's winning the day.
Yeah, this would be the negative side of having so many command trucks is you don't have enough units to protect them, and you're at a points disadvantage to the enemy. Right now we're leading by a factor of 2 already, and when this command truck gets killed in the next volley, I think, there it goes. We are now in the lead by 400 points easily.
There's also a command truck just in the open field over here by Golf.
Yeah, I saw that one on the move too. I'm not. My recon must have seen it. Yeah, and I'm going, oh snap! I better move up and kill it with something pronto. So I decided to send up these Z Halos to see if I can get a kill. Although it seems that he has a pretty decent amount of firepower in the guarding that open field. Not sure what he thinks he's going to do with that command truck though, since I've still got infantry in Delta, and I've got that entire area covered pretty much. Meanwhile, my faggot infantry squad is trying to snipe those VABs. They actually got a few kills, I would say. And my Appos are firing on those Chasseurs, giving some decent damage. But what's more important is my Z-Halos, which are trying to frantically find the command truck before they get destroyed by
whatever. There is this group of Panzer Grenadiers hiding over here in this building. Over on the right side, they called in some rise patents, and you're about to see some crazy tank action going down over here. Those mortars and their artillery did manage to get one of my supply trucks over here, so I immediately start withdrawing, because even though I do have an advantage here in terms of the amount of armor and the class of armor that I have, I decided it isn't worth fighting, especially when I'm going to have to get stationary in order to shoot.
Yeah.
So I keep my Strops a little bit further forward in order to fire at this Cobra, which is going to run away very, very fast. And pull my tanks back in order to repair.
Got the other command truck over near Delta at the cost of the Z-Halos, but obviously that's a very good trade. So now the enemy's down by almost 1,000 points to R300, and we're in a significant lead, especially considering the number of command trucks they bought on the start.
They did call in these 2 M11P Abrams here, which are going to be kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. But as you can see, notice where my tanks are positioned. They're behind cover, so they're able to fire out with pretty much giving the enemy no corrected shots. Now they're moving these AMX-30Bs up toward these completely covered tanks right here, which you can see where they are right now. And I'm moving them back in order to regroup for a much harder push. And Lanissum is going to move in some recoilless rifles. They're going to kill this recon there, but Lanissum already has a recon chopper in the air watching the area, so...
The whole idea was I would bum rush those M1 Abrams, since there were only 2 of them anyway. But it would seem that they are actually able to outrun them. Actually, 60... they're equal speed, so... wasn't quite able to do that. But it's always worth a shot, since those are so cheap. If they can get close enough, they can kill the M1 Abrams any day.
Absolutely. Recoilless rifles are actually very, very good for the cost, surprisingly.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Delta, I've killed like 2 entire platoons of infantry with my artillery, so that's definitely helping even out the score. And I'm trying to support Will with my artillery as well. But it's basically going to be all down to the tanks.
Now, I would like to point out, we are having to use artillery a little bit sparingly, because as you can see, we only have 2 FOBs, so we're not too heavy on resupply here, so we can't exactly shoot artillery willy-nilly. Now at this point we're about to have a pretty big battle go down. Let me show it to you from our perspective, because I can't see this AMX-30B in the woods here, plus these VABs, but that doesn't really matter. They're going to die pretty soon anyway. Zoom in and watch the destruction here.
Yeah, the recoilless rush did not quite go as planned. But at least they're shooting at the recoilless as opposed to the T-72s, etc. That's always good.
Now, admittedly, recoilless rifles are especially good if you can get them in ambushes. That is where they really shine, is when you're either chasing very slow tanks, or you're chasing things, or you're just ambushing them in woods. So chasing fast tanks with them, not a good idea. You're going to get picked off. Or if you have to close a lot of open ground where they can see you and shoot at you.
Yeah, or if you're just too far to be accurate at all. It's almost like infantry and wheels, really. And you'll see the M1 Abrams are taking some serious fire from his chasing tanks. And I think he's going to get a few kills, actually.
Yeah, they're going to get absolutely destroyed, especially this one engine stall right there. Didn't help them. They definitely bit it right there. The Strop 2 is moving in on this H1E Cobra that's out of ammo. Should have been retreated, wasn't. So it's gonna bite it right now.
This would definitely be a case if they overextended themselves. Now my recon can see that they've pushed a lot of stuff into the woods of Delta. Yeah, so basically we're gonna be cleaning up Echo and Delta for the immediate future, after deciding not to overextend themselves and rush into a Foxtrot or whatever and get destroyed. So I am aware of the infantry in the woods in front of Gulf as well as in Delta. And I'm going to be taking care of them in due course. Now, is there anything going on over in Webb's side? It looks like you're going to be retreating soon. Did you lose?
So, no, I haven't really lost any of my main tanks. I think I might have lost 1 T-72A, possibly. I really don't remember. But notice I still have all my BMP 685s. I still got all my my T-72Bs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking these things. I'm going to wipe out these Martyr 1s, which were annoying me earlier and stunning all my stuff. And then I'm going to start retreating over to the east here and hide in these woods and resupply. And then I'm going to come at them again. I did not kill all of these FAMAS in these woods. I really don't know why, but I just didn't. So once again, you see them trying to bring out the tow trucks, which... the tow vehicles, once again, NATO side, very effective. BMP 685s have taken some damage, but not enough to actually be a serious problem. And T-72Bs are pretty much still in perfect working order.
Yeah, I think Webb's managed to do this entire fight without losing anything. The T-72As, unless you had
this T-72B here that tried to go in the woods there, bit it pretty hard, so I didn't lose a tank.
Okay, well, not a perfect victory, but still definitely an overwhelming one. Yeah, over on my side, I'm just dueling it out with enemy artillery. But if you take a look on the road near Delta, I have a buck moving up. Because I could see the Kiowa over near Gulf. And this is why you want to have some bucks in your arsenal. They can do some seriously nice anti-aircraft sniping. So I move my buck right up. And let's see, I can't quite get the range on it, but... besides the buck, I'm also moving up my UAZ recoilless rifles to shoot at these martyrs because they're annoying me as all get out. We'll see if we can get any kills there. I think the fighting's kind of taking a lull on the other flank. And the buck is firing. Do we get a hit?
Now, one of the other advantages of the recoilless rifle teams that you don't really hear too much about is notice how all of these ATGMs here that you just see fly past, they don't actually hit these things.
And that's
because
ammo.
these units are very, very small. And notice that we vet for them every time we buy them, even though that makes them more expensive. They're extremely hard to hit, they're extremely fast, they don't route, and they hit their target. So we can move them up very quickly, shoot these things, and
GTFO.
Right, exactly. These higher tier units are not going to be able to hit them.
Okay, so if you'll see in this entire thing right here, I just sniped out the recon chopper, shot up their Martyr A1s, and killed the infantry on the left flank with my artillery. And I got a few infantry kills with my Flampanzer, but I kind of didn't micro it and they killed it. Oops. Although I'm pretty sure my recoilless will finish off those Martyrs in a second. Or maybe not.
Right, so Lanissum's side is going to be where all the action is. My side, I'm mainly moving up these Euro 4320s right here that I just called in, so not too much happening there.
And if you'll note, in the rear, I just moved a recon chopper into a perfect sight spot on his artillery. Or, well, what we would find out was just mortars, actually.
So let's take a look at what they see right now. Right now, they don't really see anything, actually, at all.
Yeah,
they cannot see absolutely none of our units because they don't have any recon in position.
Definitely won the recon war there.
Yes. You know, and as you can see right now, if you take a look at the score, NATO's 698, PACT 2600, not doing too well. Need to get the recon in there.
Yeah, if you look at Foxtrot right now, this is when the recon starts paying off for itself. Just a few artillery pieces taking out the mortars, but I don't think we'll actually hit the mortars or kill them anyway. What more important though is this next volley right here. Boom! We kill a mortar and then we wipe out an infantry platoon. That's about 50 or so points right there. It definitely adds up. So at this point we figure we can probably push at will, since they have so many command trucks and we've killed so much of their stuff.
And this recon unit right here, this armored recon, this Luke's over here on the right side, is going to get kind of lucky. They're going to get a spot off on my tank grouping here. Not that they really have any artillery in any kind of position to do anything about that, but if they had, or they had some additional AA, they could have, aircraft, they could have moved in, wiped out those Strop 2s really quickly, just blob up a little bit of aircraft, and go in here and wipe these tanks out. And really, one of the effective ways to wipe me out would have been to get a chopper blob, kill my AA, and then you'd have free reign over all these tanks, because I only had these 3 Strop 2s after they managed to kill one of them early on in the round.
That's easier said than done, though, because if you'll note, we've killed most of their command trucks, and they are way behind on the point gain. And we've also killed a way ton of their stuff, so we've basically shredded everything they had. They've lost 2,700 points, which basically they've lost everything they started with, and everything they have on field almost, they had to buy. So the fact that they only have 3 points to our 5 really is going to add
Well,
up.
right. I mean, obviously this is kind of a beginning of the round strategy type thing that needs to be adjusted here. You know, I think what really easily could have been noticed is we had a lot of ground units, not too many, well, actually pretty much 0 air units at all, and not a great amount of anti-aircraft fire at all. I mean, you had some Bucks and some Strop 2s. I see 2 Strop 2s over here, and the Buck is somewhere.
I've got 2 Bucks and 2 Strop 2s and about 4 Afghanskis, which are basically cheap gun AA. So pretty much, if they had blobbed, I'd have to call them some more AA, but the point is, you save points up to deal with that kind of stuff.
Not to mention the fact that our artillery is very long range, very high powered HE artillery. You can see we're at 2942 right now. This very high powered artillery, one of the main thoughts should have immediately been, hey, we have to kill that artillery. And one of the things they could have done is just run a scout vehicle right down here through the middle. Notice that there are practically 0 units through the middle here that are actually able to do anything about it until they got back here to the Pragas in the main base. But there's only 2 of them there, so maybe get some fast armor and run it through there, or some fast infantry carriers, maybe some Bradleys or something like that, run it through the middle. Nothing's going to shoot at them at all, and they would just have a field day with their fobs in the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure we actually have any recon in that road. Well,
as you can see on the right side, I'm lighting up these Fusiliers and these Pattons here. They're going to get smoked.
Yeah, any second now the match will be over, I think. Yeah, there it goes.
Yep, there it goes. Took out that Patton right there, and that was it right there.
Yeah. So in short, we basically attrited the enemy, held our positions, killed off their command trucks, which they were relying on to get more points, and then overwhelm us, but they were unable to secure the middle points. And by losing their command trucks early on, remember, I got 2 almost immediately beginning of the game, that just put them way behind, and I don't think they were able to really recover from that.
And again, you know, they lost the recon war, and especially because they lost those tank fights over on the right, which cost them, you know, probably at least 700 points easily.
Yeah, that probably cost them their main punch, really, especially those M1 Abrams.
Right. They kept pushing those AMX 30Bs up, and what they should have done is they should have pulled them back and played a little bit more defensively, continued to harass me with artillery until they got into a good flanking position, at which point they could have rolled those tanks up really fast while I was trying to retreat, cut me off, and kill them, because I only had a limited number of them. So...
yeah. Maybe some more tactics like this Delta Force at the beginning of the game, especially to draw off our forces to deal with whatever they have.
Absolutely. That was actually quite frightening to us, because I believe, Lanissum, you called in those Malka artillery pieces.
Yeah,
and
pretty
went,
much what happened was we lost that recon, and we go, oh snap, we'll throw some artillery at it. I don't really think about it, and then I called some Malka. I'm going, oh god, is the Delta gone yet?
Yeah, fortunately they had been artilleried into the ground there. There wasn't really anything left but pieces.
That was approximately 320 points they could have killed right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if they had left 2 units in those buildings right there, and perhaps another 2 units or so actually in the woods behind the spawn end where they could still shoot the laws and stuff at them.
Recoilless, if they had driven up some like recoilless or cheap tanks right into those woods, they'd be point blank, rear shots, boom. It would have been a game over for anything spawning there too.
I think we may have to try that next round.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad idea.
Okay.
I mean,
well, obviously we've got our strategy for the next round there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it for this replay. Thanks to Von Flipmode and Blackadder. You guys are awesome. And for all of the rest of you, if you see us around, make sure to, you know, give us a shout out. We like to see people that have watched our stuff, and let us know what you think. So until next time, that's Lanissum Webs and Quantitative Easing signing off.